One of the most common things that people come in for is what we call adjustment disorder. And technically speaking, everyone has adjustment disorder because we're always adjusting to something. But there are lots of different major life events and sometimes not so major life events that can cause stress or anxiety or other emotional issues. And sometimes we just need to have a place where we can come in and talk through those things. Sometimes counseling can serve as a sounding board. And often I find myself in the role as the therapist of being someone who offers the outside objective, the neutral, uninvolved, unattached, calmer perspective on things. I sometimes call that taking the balcony view. And we can get wrapped up in the drama that's going on stage, or if we could take a step back, we can take a grander look and not be so emotionally attached. And so sometimes therapy is coming in, bouncing things off, but then also learning some of the skills to take that balcony view. It takes some energy, it takes some effort to step back and take that objective view. I find in sitting with clients almost daily that there are themes that seem to appear for people adjusting to things or dealing with stress. And one of the big ones is relationships, whether that be marriage or significant other, or even sometimes just friendships, and sometimes even coworker relationships. But conflict or change in a relationship, getting married, getting divorced, getting engaged, some of them sound wonderful, some of them sound more difficult, but change, period, can cause anxiety, can cause us to feel a little more unstable, raise our anxiety and frustration. And so having someone to go and talk with about that, to process some of those changes, to work through what some of those impacts might be on our lives, can be a really helpful thing. You know, it's kind of obvious in situations like divorce, there's a lot of emotional pain, but a lot of times we don't think about the good positive changes that those can bring about anxiety or stress. And that can show up in lots of different areas of life, like the happily married couple who get their first child. It's something they've been wanting for a long time, and now all of a sudden baby's here and life is completely different. And it can bring up a lot of different mixed emotions that can be difficult to deal with. Like sometimes there can be a sense of grief. You know, I'm mourning the loss of the life that I used to have. I'm missing some of the freedom that I used to have. Yes, I have the joy of this child, but there are some what we would judge as negative things that aren't necessarily negative, they're just human. And so working through those things can be a really helpful experience to do it with someone who isn't going to judge you, who isn't going to sit and think, oh my gosh, you're so horrible for missing the way life used to be, you know, being able to sleep in until 8 o'clock in the morning. Those kinds of things. It's a very normalizing experience, and our hope at the Finnegan Counseling Center is that we could create a safe space where you can be completely you. There's other changes that people have a difficult time adjusting to, and you know, some of them are just the common sense, a new job, moving, change in relationship status. And in particular, at this time of life we seem to be in this country, the economic pressure, financial pressure, there's a lot that's up in the air. We're doing pretty well here in the Houston area, but many of us have friends and family in other parts of the country that are taking a harder hit than us. That can trigger all sorts of emotions. And just the pace of life that we keep in general. In this culture, in our society, I have many kids that I work with who are involved in 3 and 4 activities over the course of a school year, and a lot of them overlap. So 3 nights out of the week, the whole family is racing around, getting to practice, doing homework, running off to this rehearsal, going to this game, going to business meetings, all sorts of different things. And sometimes in an effort to beef up the kid's resume or to beef up our sense of accomplishment or our keeping up with the Joneses, the quintessential expression, we can fill our lives so full of things that we lose the simplicity of life. And sometimes there's a lot of wisdom in just coming back to some of the simpler things, being involved in one activity at a time in the week for a kid. Stepping back in some of the things that we're involved in as adults. It looks good on paper, it looks good in our minds to some of the people around us, but we're fraying ourselves on the ends. And over time, that can have a profound impact, and it can slowly seep in. And so talking about how to adjust to some of these things, making sometimes not so fun choices like withdrawing from something, or slowing down, or changing up our routine. These are all just really practical things that if we stop and think, oh yes, that's common sense, why would I want to talk to someone about that? Well, sometimes we need to because we miss the forest for the trees. Sometimes just having that outside observer can really be a very helpful tool, and it's only for a short season. We're not talking coming in for therapy for 2 years to talk about stress because little Johnny's involved in 4 activities. You know, it can be a few sessions, or it can be for just a few months while you're going through that change, while you're going through that adjustment. It's not a long-term thing. It's a relationship to come alongside, to take that balcony view, to relax and change some of the drama on the stage.